I shall say before we get into this particular issue, because we have so many agenda items to discuss, I tended to limit comments from non-board members and non-staff members. However, I understand, I know very well we have stakeholders in the room, not just in terms of island business people, but also in terms of people who want to provide as many choices as possible, or interested in having as many choices as possible in terms of. So I'm going to allow just a little bit of discussion beyond the table on this one, and I hope you'll forgive me for making.
Do you want to put a time limit on?
We want to conclude this.
When I get hungry enough. Anyway, I would like to wrap this meeting up by 7:30. I think it's possible. Two of the items that remaining have been discussed, and some of them are mainly nuts and bolts items. It might not need quite as much discussion as we've had so far.
Okay.
So, on the question of the status of locations of mobile food trucks.
Okay. So this is something that has been talked about at various committees, the real estate committee, the operations committee, and I think it was brought up at the last board meeting in terms of where are we in terms of locations for mobile food vending on the island. And the position of the corporation, as we mentioned previously, is that we're open to having vending here on the island at various locations. And I think a map was presented at the last real estate committee meeting. And at that meeting, it was suggested by Ms. Smith to add another location, which would be the promenade. We updated our maps.
Matter of fact, Faye and I talked about the area by the subway, and if that couldn't work, then it would come.
Okay. So, we looked at all of those locations. They're reflected here on the updated map, and the print is a little small because I didn't print out the larger scale map, and I'll circulate this. But generally speaking, the locations that we identified before will work. The only restrictions would be that we cannot be, there are certain distances away from a food establishment or storefront, like Dwayne Reed or Starbucks, Fuji East, Riverwalk Bar and Grill, or Nono's Pizzeria. We also there has to be certain distances away from the subway station, which we have. And so you have to be certain distances away. It's not, I apologize, it's a small print, but you have to be certain distances away from bus stop, fire hydrant, and crosswalks. So the locations that we identify are highlighted there: South Point Park, Lighthouse Park, the Promenade, adjacent to the subway station where the current fruit vendor is now. Farmers market on Saturdays. The other thing I forgot to mention is that because of the retail master lease, there's a clause in there that we cannot have vending from the Motorgate Garage to the Blackwell House, so that's a restricted area. Parking spaces, you cannot, a food vendor cannot occupy a parking space.
No, but the good news is there are parking spaces, so we can do anything.
Absolutely, and that would be the decision of the committee or the board or the real estate committee to say, you know what, we're going to eliminate a few parking spaces to allow for a food vending location, which is fine here.
That being said, though, it's important that you point out to do that. There are rules saying it has to be a certain distance from the subway. So say if you targeted the ones right by the Starbucks and stuff, it would probably be a ways up, perhaps halfway. I don't know that, and it can't be in a crosswalk.
Whose rules are we talking about, Leslie?
These are
The stand is close.
right.
Very close.
Okay.
Right on top of
The rules. Let me just I should have began the conversation with this. In terms of vending in New York City, there are two methods for receiving a vendor's permit. The first method is going through the New York City Department of Consumer Affairs for non-food items. So if you want to sell trinkets or books or whatever it may be, non-food items, you go through the New York City Department of Consumer Affairs and you fill out an application and so on. And they tell you what the guidelines are and the locations and so on. Now for food items, which I think is the general interest here for Roosevelt Island and the board and the committees, is that is administered by the New York City Department of Health. and they issue the appropriate licenses and permits, okay? The entrepreneur or the vendor has to go to the Department of Health, fill out the application. They also have to disclose financial records and also fill out applications for sales tax and so on. So it's a lengthy application process, which I have a copy of, which I shared with Mr. Pollack a few weeks ago. And then from that, they're issued a license to permit. Now, there are 4 different categories of licenses. So the first one is a food truck or a processing truck, basically that you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're handling food and so on. And that's one license. And they come with certain guidelines and what's allowed under the New York City rules and regulations regarding that. The second one is a non-processing truck. It was basically you're selling items that's maybe wrapped and you're selling it out. And the third one would be a processing cart, so that you have, let's say, a hot dog stand, and you're cooking your hot dogs and so on, and you have to follow those guidelines in terms of what's allowable under a food processing cart. The last one is a non-food processing cart. So, for instance, the fruit stand. The fruit stand is not making smoothies. They're not opening up a pineapple and selling it. They're just selling it the whole fruit.
The soda and ice cream guys, you just pull it out of a frozen and you hand it to them, didn't touch the food, it's prepackaged.
That, I think, is considered processing.
It is?
Yes, because you're manufacturing. You're doing something. You're taking.
Really?
I think that's considered processing, but because from what I've seen in the truck, they have the.
No, not those guys, the push carts like in Central Park. Where
The push
the
cart.
ice cream.
Oh yeah, it's already wrapped. Yes,
Right?
exactly.
But, yeah.
Exactly. Yes. So, with that said, they fit into one of those categories and their guidelines in terms of size and restrictions and locations and so on. Coupled with that, there's New York City Administrative Code, which is basically Administrative Code 306 to 317. And it basically is the New York City law, which basically mandates what a vendor can do under those guidelines. What we focus on is, because we're not concerned, we're not collecting sales tax, that's New York City, and things of that nature. What I focused on is section 315, which is the location of food vending trucks or carts. And under that statute, it basically outlines where you can be. X distance away from a storefront, so you can't block a storefront. You have to be X distance away from a subway station. You have to be X distance away from fire hydrant and so on and so on. That's what I focus. That's the only thing that's relevant to us. And I use that to basically confirm those locations. Now, the only thing that we're in conflict with are the existing parking spaces. So, if it's the wish of the committee, or committees actually, the operations committee and the real estate committee, to eliminate some parking spaces to allow food vending, I'm fine with that. The corporation is fine with that. That's fine. But just, again, it's a balancing act for us, because once we eliminate parking spaces, you may have another group of people that say, I want my parking space. Why are you taking it away? So that's, and this is so much, just to touch back a little bit, the zip car issue. We take away one space and we give it to another, and so that's what we face with on a daily basis here.
When anyone says it's their parking space, and tell them, no, it's not your parking space.
Exactly.
Well, now that we've got it down on the West Promenade, these guys gave us a nice proposal back in what, December? To do stuff down at the Promenade. Could they get a permit to go down there? We get the food trucks there, get them there, and everybody's there.
Well, here's the thing. With the food truck, I would not recommend having food trucks there, which I'll get into a little bit later. What their proposal consisted of is having tables and having food and having like an outdoor eatery.
What is this West Promenade Circle thing here?
That's the same location, to have like an outdoor plaza eating space.
Right, but aren't you saying?
You can have food carts there.
Right.
Not
The problem with
the
the trucks, the weight
Yeah. Right.
would be
Okay.
hard for them.
Yes. And then
It would have to be cars.
And Ms. Smith, the other thing too I would have to raise is the safety issue. You don't want trucks going down to that
But would the
plaza.
trucks be
And then
up
you have-
on the asphalt level or down actually on the plaza itself?
No, it's not shown in this picture, but.
It's closer to the subway.
Okay.
But you don't want, that's really a pedestrian
Yeah.
walkway, and you don't want that conflict
I
of
thought
having
this
food
was
trucks.
gonna be the
And
location of
bikes
the,
can't
this
get
is not,
around, that kind of
these
stuff.
Sorry?
circles are not the locations of the food trucks then.
Oh, yes, they are.
Well, this is West
But-
Promenade, there's a circle there.
I know,
Yeah,
but,
so
but that's
He
what we
doesn't-
identified as a place for vending.
Food carts, food vending.
No
trucks
so
there. No
we're
trucks
back
at
to,
three.
to square one with the trucks.
Well, I like the
Oh.
idea that you might finally be able to get a hot dog on this island, but I don't wanna disrupt the island.
Right,
Well, trucks would be by the tram park, by the soccer field.
Right.
like
Why
that.
don't we discuss the area 3 since we have the vendors here?
Right, I mean,
I think we should discuss area 3 right now. We have the businessmen here who are very interested in that area.
I agree with the concept that, I'm not sure that this committee is the right place to discuss areas per se. I know that that's what you're reporting on. But I think the larger question, which has not been resolved in terms of public's needs and interest, is generally what sort and what kind of people are gonna show up and sell stuff, whether it's off a truck or a car. And how's that gonna affect the choices that people have to, get a different bite to eat than our current businesses happen to offer.
Well, we already know what these gentlemen
Mr.
are
Chairman?
going to
Well,
sell.
Is it possible I could say
Go ahead,
something?
speak. Yes.
Thank you. We could pretty much answer all the questions that you guys are asking in like one sentence. We would put everything in one area, Primrose Promenade, not trucks, carts, which you would have a lot more to provide for.
Sure.
Different carts, they're smaller, and you'll have different cuisines, but it'd be controlled by one person, by one business would control it, and you dole it out, everybody has a spot, and you will get from what everybody wants. I mean, all the, like, you want a hot dog, I want some Thai, I want something different, a waffle, whatever. Everything will be in one area, and you really don't have to worry about parking spaces, blocking any hydrants, blocking any kind of, or taking any, you take one parking space away from everybody, you're gonna have 80 people bitching about it. It's as simple as that. That's what's gonna happen. So like you said, to alleviate all the problems that you guys are going back and forth, you designate it into one area. It's the best area, it comes right off the tram, you can see it from the tram, you can see it from Manhattan. It'll be a destination spot, and it'll be confined.
And we say promenade, where are we talking about exactly?
The
One answer, please. Steve?
I think he's at the pier.
the pier,
Right, exactly.
it's called the promenade, am I correct?
right.
The
It's
pier
one of the
area
areas that
was
we're
shown.
considering for, or is being reviewed for a ferry landing, but it's not feasible because they're not permitting ferry service, so, but it's a pier, which is a nice location,
Table,
very
chairs.
scenic.
Would there be
So-
alcohol?
It's pretty much up to the other.
that's a permitting issue
A
because.
permanent issue, yeah.
If it's we have the church up there, so it can't be too close to a church. and you
Oh,
can't
no,
be
this
close
is,
to No, which area again?
By the subway.
They keep changing it, I'm sorry, by the subway, so that's the main square pier, look,
Yes.
Yes.
okay? So we too
We're
close to
all
anything
the
there.
pigeon coop.
We're just before we
Yeah.
go up to the cherry
Yeah.
tree.
Yeah, before we had
Okay.
the cherry tree.
Yeah, the cherry tree, okay,
The ceremony.
We
down there,
Cherry blossom ceremony.
yep,
It's pretty much away from the street, so you won't have, like, if you wanna put stuff by the subway, that's
Yeah.
traffic, you're dealing,
Yeah.
whoever's plan was it to make it one way was excellent, because that's an accident waiting to happen, having two different ways for that little area. And if you wanna have, like, a food vending cart, you're gonna have people crossing the street, so to have it away from the street, right from the subway, people can see it from Manhattan, you'll make it a destination spot, like in Queens. You wanna put sand down, you wanna put, like you said, it's pretty much there already, it's just a matter of putting tables and chairs and whatever vendors you want.
And David, you were worried about what you're gonna get. Well, that's one thing we do.
That's
know.
gonna change rather quickly, because once a vendor comes and sees that he's not gonna make any money selling lobsters, lobster rolls, then you'll get somebody else to come in and say, look, we're offering you this spot, at this space, at this price, and this is what you can do, can you sell stuff? And I think it might be seasonal, pretty much, which that's what we're looking at, and for alcohol, it's nowhere near a church, we would go for it, and we were
Okay.
ready to apply for it. So like I said, it's just a matter of getting it
Well,
done.
That's a vision, and I appreciate it.
yeah, we just worry about the cleanup, so that's always a challenge.
Well,
Well, whoever takes that over, that'll be in a proposal
Yeah,
that we did.
plates and stuff.
We would police the area. You wouldn't have to do nothing to it. I wanna
Right.
redo the
I mean,
area.
I've seen examples of that in various places in the world where they have the food carts and sometimes they have a tent.
But did you see
and
our
they're just very,
proposal?
very
We wanna do
popular.
over the pier, we wanna take over the
Yeah.
wood, clean it up, get rid
Yeah.
of all the poop, I mean, make it look nice. We're dealing with different ways of keeping the pigeons off by little,
Seagulls.
seagulls, excuse me.
Goals to your problem. Yeah, go, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I'm sorry.
What I would suggest, because the weather is turning nicer, a lot earlier in the year, and warmer, yes.
Some people.
And is, for at least for this year, enter into a 1-year permit with the entrepreneurs from Riverwalk Bar and Grill and Nonos to allow them to do this food court vending.
Which is at the sushi guy too, right?
Everybody, I wanna include the whole
At the
island,
promenade.
whatever new businesses come in.
Anything beyond that,
A lot
and
of
that'll
them
give us
come in.
time, because we have to do an RFP if we
Yeah,
want
what
to
are the
have a more
issues, yeah.
long-term relationship.
Not a Gavon.
That's the thing.
What are our-
You can't just give it.
So if
Right.
we want something for now,
Okay.
if we want something now, excuse me, Steve, if we want something
Well, we have to
now,
work out an
that's what I
equitable
suggest, is
amount
that
of
we enter into a permit and we can work out the terms and the logistics and the areas of
Now,
responsibilities.
this is separate from mobile food carts that we've
I
talked
wanna
about.
No, not instead of, well, trucks I don't recommend
Excuse me, you're out of
whatsoever.
Howard, you were saying?
This is separate from the mobile food
No, we're not taking.
carts, trucks that we've talked about.
Yes, it's separate.
Having, where it might be down by the tram, might
Yes,
be
that's,
up by
yes, it's separate.
Octagon.
Where
Yes.
they currently go.
Is there any,
The ice cream truck,
when
others
you
do
look
go
at the area, is there any implications to like power or other thing that we need to have available?
There's power there.
There's power there?
Power and water.
Power and water there.
It's both there.
You know, really.
Okay.
Between both, we have
Sanitary
2 kitchens, 3 kitchens,
facilities.
4 kitchens, so to
Right there.
provide whatever delicacies, it'd be
I was
like
just
a mini
thinking,
food
from
court.
taking away the aesthetic issues from our operational issues, is there anything we would have to do to adjust that area? And it sounds like no.
Trucks are all self-contained. I mean,
Yeah.
all the carts will come
I don't
out.
think we can answer that
I would like to-
honestly
excuse
until we
me.
go and look.
I have a request from Councilman, 2 people back here, and I'm gonna let, no, you're a reporter, you don't get to ask questions. You first.
I was just asking if that was instead of food trucks or in addition.
Okay, for the
There
promenade
are
location,
other
my
people who are
recommendation
interested in that
would
subway
be not
pier
to have food
for that
trucks at the
same
promenade
service.
for
Right,
safety
but-
issues
It should not
and
be
also
just
for
given to-
structural issues for that area.
Right.
But with the issue that
Yeah,
Mr.
or
Powell
in the past
raised,
they've
that
expressed
it's
interest.
this is separate
And
from
it should be
having food
different from
vending
the mobile
trucks
food
on
trucks
the
on the
island,
streets.
on the roadways, or at a designated location, like at the parks.
If
That's
this,
2
if
separate
this were- if this
items.
were nice, it would be spaced somewhat like Bryant Park has.
Exactly.
I got the Brian Park thing, but also in the other areas, on a weekend, a truck wants to set up at the Lighthouse Park or on the street near the soccer, Octagon Park area for the gardeners and the kids playing sports. I was on the pony field, am I right in assuming trucks might go in those areas on those occasions?
Yes, at the Octagon, yes, at the Octagon or at Lighthouse, yes.
And where it says existing fruit stand, I just wondered, does that mean that the fruit stand is gonna be gone, or there's
No,
something?
no, he's here.
I'll just point it out, as one that already
Ex-
exists.
Exactly.
Oh,
So
there would be an
that-
addition.
oh,
Right.
okay.
Did you have another question? Did you have another question?
Yeah, I do.
Vicky, you wanna make sure
Um,
you stay.
I'm also a resident.
Sherry now.
I don't know if this is exactly the right moment, because I understand you're
I will let you
talking
know immediately.
about the pier area. But I did run into, as I was coming home at 72nd Street, there's a very, very nice truck that has gelato and ice cream and other goodies, and they are interested. I talked to them, I have the card, I have a contact, I don't have it with me right here. I ran out really quickly, but I can get that. I want to get the information to them as to who they need to contact.
I have 4 different gelatos and 10 different
Well,
ices.
yeah, this is different. I'm sorry, but there is such a thing as competition.
Sure, 100%.
So I would like to see another one also on the island as well.
Somewhere. I think it'd be
Somewhere,
coming.
right, and that's my question. Who do they contact? Who do I
Donna
direct them
Maisley
to?
in the Park and Recreations Department is responsible for permitting. Her number is
I
212-833-4563.
can get that. Who directly? And is she actually just
I have a question,
doing
another
that
question
permitting
waiting.
now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's doing it all
She
the
does it
time,
year-round.
every day.
Yeah, I understand for the island organizations and.
Yeah, and she does it for
So
vendors
she
as well.
can, she's empowered to permit
Yes.
for a food truck or
Mhm.
an ice cream.
Yes.
It's not like the Mr. Softy at all.
Yes,
Well, that-
yes, it is, yes, and once we would come to an agreement with the locations there's still an open issue in terms of removing parking spaces, but once I have a final determination from the committee, then she'll be able to do that as well.
Rick had a question.
There are two different issues here. One issue is the mobile food trucks on the street between the Starbucks and the David's Turnaround, which is about 475 Main Street. And the other issue is what Alphonse and John have raised regarding the subway pier facility. So it's important to separate those two issues.
Right.
I repeat that I said the last time. Fernando and I were walking down the street last night, and we saw hundreds of people walking down the street from the subway at about 5 o'clock at night on the West Channel Road. That is the single best place to put a mobile food truck. And not a food truck that's controlled by one entity, but a food truck that any food truck can come to Roosevelt Island at all, with the variety that exists in any New York City neighborhood. We can get a Mexican food truck, you can get the lobster food truck. That's something what the residents of the island really, really want. They want the variety and the services that provides.
And if I could just add to that, you'll forgive me, guys, but anybody walking up that sidewalk at 5 o'clock in the evening is not a business you're gonna get in terms of your current locations.
I'm a gambling man. I guarantee that, like I said, you bring as many trucks as you want. I want to go sit down and go get something to eat. Competition is fantastic. No one's going to stop and go get something to eat. They're going to go back home. The mindset in us, and I think I'm very good with this, being here quite a long time and dealing with everybody, from poor to rich to middle class. Nobody's going to stop. Half the people in the town don't even know there's a bar. 20% of the island, I guarantee, didn't know there's a pizzeria. I had a woman come in with 4 kids say, "How long you been here?" 4 years. Are you kidding me? She got 3 kids. That's amazing. So like you said, that might be a great area. Let them walk by. Give them a price. Give them a designated area. But if you're going to start moving parking spaces, then you're changing the whole idea. You're making it easy for someone to come here to do not need to give them a permit, how much it costs. Let them do it. Let them pay for it. Let them do it.
Those parking spaces are rarely used during that time of day.
Yeah, that was my.
They're empty.
And also regarding the subway pier,
Behind me.
there are probably other entities that would be interested in using the pier for the same purposes, so you might want to consider that as well.
Well, then that means an RFP, so then that takes
Nothing
at
else.
least 4 to 6 weeks before we flush it out, because we have to evaluate and so on. So it becomes a
I'll tell you,
decision.
there was somebody, I don't remember exactly who it was, who expressed an interest in it. I think we ought to at least owe it to someone who expressed an interest in the past to say he's still up for it, but I'm talking, a couple of days. No, there was somebody other
It
than
was a
Rick.
different
It was-
idea,
It was
but-
somebody else. So we'll just run it by them too and see. They may not wanna do it anymore. And then, cause I don't wanna wait till next season. I wanna do it, you guys are ready to go. If this guy wants to do it for the season, for the permit, but then we issue an RFP for
Right, that's what I'm
long term
suggesting,
for
yes,
everybody to
exactly.
bid on.
That's a good thing, because you have a point of reference. So get right into it and evaluate what's going on, just by calculating or by walking by, checking what's going on. And it's an in-house operation. We're not dealing with people from the outside coming in. They're gonna be in your area, correct? So who's accountable for their quality of their food? You guys are.
We would be, of course.
And that's my biggest
If we're not
concern.
doing a good job, which there's a lot of eyes on this island, you're gonna be able to say.
My personal feeling is that when I see food being made in the trucks,
Take you a minute.
they don't have gloves on. You don't know what's coming back and forth with it. That concerns me. That's why we really need control over, so it's a great idea, but there has to be control over. A truck coming in from the outside will serve the way they always do.
So, I'm sorry.
I have 2 comments back here I want to hear, but I want to interject in opinion first. I don't want us, as a corporation or a committee, to be any way, shape, or form involved in the food,
Right.
in the food business. I don't want anything that's happening coming back on us. You know, anyone, whatever entity we agree we have space for, it has to be arm's length from this corporation. We're not in the food business, and we're not in the health business, and we're not in, the restaurant permitting business. And we've got city, we got the big blue A on a hot dog stand.
You're gonna put it next to the tree. You're gonna park your house something there, that's a different issue, and there's different, people that,
I got it.
yeah.
Mr. Crowder, I hear what you're saying, but then once we allow food vending and we give them a permit, then we're gonna have a relationship with whoever it is that sells food here on the island. So if someone gets sick, or someone, eats something wrong,
You see my point?
they're gonna come. So, again, I'm looking for direction from the committee, what locations you want to relinquish in terms of parking spaces.
Okay.
I already identified, excuse me, Ms. Christian, I already identified the potential locations. I need direction, and that's what I need
I'm
at
gonna
this
give you
point in terms of
some-
going
I'm
forward.
gonna ask-
City
maybe give
permits.
them a minute.
We're talking about, we're speaking of city permits anyway. Vendors will get city permits.
Right, that has to happen, that's part of our
So-
application process.
So already, I think that fits anything else in the city. Any vendors in the city, that's where they have, who they're gonna sue in the city.
No, but they're also gonna sue us, because we give them a permit
So
as
you're
well.
saying that in New York City, that's what happens?
This is New York City, they'll sue you for anything.
No, I mean in Manhattan, in Manhattan. Well, they sue
Yeah.
you, but it doesn't mean you're gonna get it.
Yeah, but when they get the permit, we're also insured on their insurance.
Great, great.
So it doesn't matter, so they can sue.
I
We're
got
not gonna-
two more comments waiting from observers, and then I'm going to move things along a little bit. Sir?
Sure. My comments are limited only to mobile food vendors that would operate on the street. I believe that carts that are on the corporation's property, completely separate issue. I fully embrace the issue permit and set up somebody to operate that. I think that the food trucks, though, should be operated under the New York City rules that are allowed for the traffic rules. You know, we've talked about doing away with a parking space. That's not actually necessary. We have taken the position at the corporation that the corporation has the ability and the control to require a special permit in order for these mobile food vendors, which have an all-city processing license, which, by the way, costs $200 for a 2-year term. Instead, RIOC wants to charge $345, I think, per month for that permit to operate here on this one island. Those vendors should be allowed to operate on the island under the same rules as they can operate anywhere else within the city of New York. The restriction against using a parking space is that there is a law that prevents hawkers or sellers operating from a parking space. If the corporation was to so decide that they did not want to enforce that rule against vehicles that were operating in certain spaces, there'd be no reason to do away with a parking space. The mobile food vendor could simply purchase a parking spot at that time and use it for their purposes. And that would allow vending from the area that is so targeted, just north of the subway station. The subway station restriction is not from a perimeter all the way around the subway station, it's actually from the entrance to the subway station. And it's the distance from the entrance to Starbucks, which is the nearest business, is far enough away from all the parking spaces that are legal over there.
And we also have a bus stop there.
Exactly, they can't work from the bus stop, they can however work from, and still remain under the law, they can work from a in front of a fire hydrant, as long as the vehicle is at all times manned by a licensed driver.
Have you public law 866?
I have not.
Well, you could read it, you'll find it says very clearly that the operating corporation is mandated to develop, operate, maintain, manage this island. So in terms of permitting processes, whether we go through a permitting process or not, this corporation has responsibility to manage operational issues in every square inch of this island up to the border. So that's A. There was a B, but I can't remember what.
No, I understand, and
Something quick. The other thing to keep in mind is they're all city permit. Legally, this is not the city of New York, your
That's
city.
exactly right.
This is the state of New York. So the question is whether their health permit is valid here is one question. Two, their purchase of a permit to sell stuff anywhere in the city of New York is not valid here. They have to permit with us because we're the state of New York, not the city of New York.
That, we make money from it. I'm gonna ask for one more comment, again.
Oh,
Vicky.
thank you. I just wanted clarification of this map. So in addition to the promenade area, as far as from the tram, north, would food trucks, are you saying that the west west is?
That's the
Where,
deck.
where else,
That's the
right. So I'm saying where else, where is it located where trucks may be?
On the west
On,
side?
no, from the tram north, where on this map are you saying that food trucks can be?
Well, they can be north of the subway station or south of the subway station, that, along that road.
But the map doesn't, the map doesn't point.
Oh, so
Doesn't
it's
outline
in,
anything.
oh, all right, so that's.
That's,
okay.
I, that's what
That's
I
a
did,
fine
that's
question.
what I
I'm
saw
gonna-
this.
I'm gonna ask,
So you just haven't figured out those locations?
No, we just have to
Okay.
agree how many parking spaces are we going to eliminate, and then,
Okay.
well, the suggestion
And then
is,
do it.
the suggestion is that we're not eliminating parking spaces, they can be parked there.
No,
That was your other point.
that would be, I think, be wonderful, and I'm just concerned that the corporation has shown favoritism to some vendors. The corporation kicked off the lobster truck, but Mr. Softy was allowed to operate without a permit for an entire weekend, until I called and complained to PSD. They didn't get a permit until the 13th, but they were there operating on the 11th. So I'm just concerned that we're treating some vendors differently than others.
I don't think that's the case. I think Mr. Softy saw that the weather was nice and he got in his truck and brought it here to Roosevelt Island without letting us know.
She
And
was here way before.
so,
All right, that's it. Public discussion is ending now. Public discussion is ending now. Excuse me, order.
Okay.
It's not a rear.
Okay, in the real estate committee meeting, we discussed space near Lighthouse Park, soccer field, and tram as to be made available for mobile food trucks.
yes, right,
And the area on the West Channel was under discussion.
right.
So I would suggest that the trucks be permitted to park as any other vehicle might park in the area on the West Channel, north of the subway station, near the turnaround. But that's just a suggestion, we haven't had a committee meeting. The real estate committee may be talking about location.
Are you talking about the turnaround near the tram or David's turnaround?
David's turnaround.
Thank you.
You know, we might, this is funny because we might talk about location, but this is the operations committee meeting talking about the.
Yeah, absolutely right. Also, I was noticing yesterday, I don't think, if the food preparation trucks are not gonna park on a hill. You can't cook on a grill if the ass end of the truck is pointed downhill, you just can't. Then they'll gobble up level spaces, and they'll pay for them. And if people stop on the way home at 5 o'clock to buy from them, then we'll see them regularly. And if people don't stop, we won't see them. They'll go away. I mean, well, I think this idea, the promenade idea is very nice, I think it's something.
It'll be a seasonal thing, and everybody will come to it. Like you just brought up a great point. If they do stop and eat, more power to them. I mean, that's fantastic. Do people have time to do that? No.
Okay, is this I'm sorry to interrupt you, is this a real estate issue or an operational issue?
It seems a bit of both at this point. Start permitting the mobile food trucks to.
Truck trucks.
The truck trucks to park in certain areas and authorizing the corporation to permit them seems to be operational. I mean, the real estate committee located some spaces. One operational issue is making available a location near David's turnaround. Perhaps when they
Why
obtain
up
their.
so far? Why not further down?
Could it be further down?
Yeah, anywhere along that?
I didn't hear.
I said, why up so far?
Okay, one truck in that area?
Thank you, guys.
You like turning around in that area?
I didn't know, I was.
You say thank me, you thank me.
No, is that, oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Well, it's one of two or three actual physical objects on this island that are personally
I've
responsible.
never read it anywhere, that's why I'm
Yeah, if they wanna
surprised.
build it, if they don't want to, then.
No, I'm saying.
Rick was teasing when he said it, because I said that's mine, I came on the street the other day.
Two spots here, 2 spots here, 2 spots here, well, possibly one and one, 2 and 1, like that.
Well, let's see what's available. I mean, you're saying you want to do that, fine. I mean, you're right, it doesn't matter if it's near the turn.
Okay, well, the question is how many spots would we want in this promenade? One truck only at the time?
Why?
Oh, more than one.
How about 20?
Competition.
Okay.
How about as many of those fools gonna come over here and think they can make money from us? let them come.
Well, I guess then the permitting parameters, we say we'll only allow A-rated trucks, and is there gonna be issues on noise?
Guys,
Gonna be issues
microing.
on- I know, microing, just letting you know, these, kind of think about these things.
That's not
Micro.
micro, that's Roosevelt Island.
Let the market shake it
That's
out.
what's gonna happen.
Catherine was doing.
Yeah, the
Let's,
money is the
let's
money.
make it possible, let's make their deal possible, let's make everybody's deal possible, and let the market shake it out. You know, I mean, you know, we're all rich, fancy people, we like lobster rolls, but maybe we're a small minority.
Can I ask one question? I'm sorry.
No, well, we've moved on.
Okay, I don't have any particular qualms about more. I don't care how many trucks are really permitted.
I mean, it's gotta be a limit, I mean.
Why?
Whatever spaces are available, that's the space they need, if they're all there, people
No,
inside.
but the thing is, one will come one day, one might not another, if they don't have space, they won't.
Where are they gonna park, in the parking space?
If they have something to pay for it.
They're paid for
And
it.
they will pay for it too, that's, you know,
Yeah,
everybody has a right, everybody has a right to come park someplace and pay for it.
Yeah.
Period, that's that. I don't think it's gonna be every 20 days, there might be 2 or 3 or 5 at some time, and that'd be nice to see on a warm spring day or spring evening.
Well, so-
Or maybe it won't happen, and
Okay.
maybe it doesn't matter, and maybe the market will shake it all out, but as long as they're paying, I'm gonna take the position that we should support the administrative regulations in terms of location of trucks, in relation to subways, fire hydrants, existing businesses.
But also, it's about parking, so,
Also what?
But we
Take
get
it up.
decommissioned parts.
yeah, we can decommission.
That's what it is. Make them pay.
Otherwise, we're gonna be inconsistent with the
Guys,
administration.
we are micromanaging, and I don't want to put you guys in that position.
No, but
Shouldn't be. Permit them. First of all, who knows how many of them are gonna pay our permit fee? Which is actually rather high in my personal opinion. But,
That's where the promenade comes in, fantastic.
Got it.
I motion to leave.
So,
All right.
Okay, so,
so what is the
You want-
recommendation of the
Come on,
committee?
forward.
My recommendation is to let them park wherever they want, let them pay for the parking, but I would not charge for a permit. 'cause they
by
paid
whatever,
for a permit.
whatever, they park wherever they want, you mean park in areas
Along
that are
with this park.
designated, like Lighthouse, soccer field, tram park, and West Promenade.
And West Promenade by those parking spaces there.
Right, so where they wouldn't otherwise interfere with regulations other than vending from a
Can we-
metered parking.
are we gonna have the right to retract this if we want?
Yes.
Just say the
Yes.
scenario is,
Yes.
Yes.
because we're trying to build up a
Well,
retail
this is a month, this is a month by month.
And if it is successful and there are 10 trucks lined up, it's gonna take a lot of business away from.
No,
No.
it's
No.
not.
No, it's not.
I live here, Steve, I'm telling you,
Okay.
that
Yeah, but
that
you don't
is
do
not.
business here.
It's different people.
But you don't do
People
business
wanna
here.
sit down and do.
Yeah, but you don't do that, you
Yeah,
can take that position, and I don't wanna, trump you or anything like that, you can take that position, you have no idea what you're talking about, when you say, I know, you can live here 100 years. You don't own a business, you don't know, you don't see what the factors that go into owning a business, and you don't deal with the people that are coming in and eating in your establishment 7 days a week. I have, and I've been doing it for 4 years, I think I know the island very, very well. Like I said, bring as many trucks as you can, but it will affect everybody, and it'll affect all the new businesses that come here on the island. Nobody walks to the middle of the island, they're so mindset on there's nothing there, so it's gonna take a while for that to change. So if you have food carts and everything there, you're gonna limit anybody walking past this subway is not gonna go anywhere near the middle of the island. So it will have an effect on it. Sorry.
I mean,
From a business
they're gonna be
perspective.
paying $35, $40 a square foot for rent, investing money into, and they're taking a risk, because they don't know if this is gonna work out. It's, you know, it should work out, but in my opinion, I think we should limit, because if it does work out, and then let's say there are 10 trucks, and they say, okay, we're gonna wanna cut it down to 5 or 4, how are we gonna, how are we gonna pick? We like you, we don't like you, we don't like, I mean, I think we
I
should.
am perfectly willing to do that.
Right, absolutely.
But, democracy, I got to.
I just solved your problem. I'll do it personally.
Okay, I mean, that's just my opinion.
Solve your problem too.
Not a chance.
I'll throw it at anybody who's too good.
One quick,
Listen, why don't we do
Wait a
what
minute,
we
Judy,
did
what?
with why don't we do what we did with everyone? This is okay for this season, because
Yes.
there's no restaurant opening up here within the next 3 months. Let's just do this for 6 months or whatever.
Alphonse,
Period.
hang on a second,
Yeah, I thought
Alphonse.
that's what we were doing.
As Alphonse has made clear that he believes, and I've got no reason to
I think
disbelieve
that's a
him,
valid point.
Let's just do it for
that
the
it's gonna
season.
take business away from his business.
And future business.
But I am
If you don't have a
also,
limit to it,
the board is also interested in offering residents as great a choice as possible, as long as it's hard, I know. It's hard. But I think there's a sense, on this committee anyway, that we allow this thing to go forward on the term. The question is of how much we charge people remains unresolved. For a Roosevelt Island permit. Well, part of my reason for wanting to stay away from that generally, and that includes your enterprise on the pier, is that if we charge people, then we automatically incur an interest in what they're up to. All the insurance liability issues, if someone gets sick, if someone this, if someone that. If we're saying, yeah, let them do it.
Look, if somebody gets sick,
It's gonna happen anyway.
You're gonna do it anyway.
Actually, I'm well aware of that.
if somebody gets sick in Riverwalk, or maybe not Riverwalk, in Trellis or something like that, I don't know, I don't know, we've never been sued.
Look, this is a
We're the
crapshoot.
landlord, I mean,
It's a crapshoot, yes, we are, Steve, I understand that, and we have a responsibility to our tenants.
but I'm thinking,
Be that as it may, I don't think we should be in opposition to entrepreneurs trying to make a buck here.
I'm just saying, I think we should limit, put a limit.
You're calling for control, more control.
It may work out, and then, I've seen places, places with a lot more like foot traffic, and it's just truck after truck after truck after truck.
Yeah,
And they are noisy after a while. They have compressors on there,
and also dirt,
and there's,
also sanitation issues.
Right, and we're gonna have to.
My personal
Now, how
view,
late are they gonna be able to?
my
All in
personal
favor of
view,
starting with 3.
my personal view
All in
is let's
favor of
try
starting
it.
with 3 for this
Let's
season.
try, I'm sorry.
I'm in favor of
She's making a motion.
They're all in favor of starting with 3 for this season.
I'm in
Because
favor.
3 spots for this season.
Yeah, I'm in favor, that's.
I'm in favor.
Are you're committee.
Okay.
I agree with you guys.
Like, these guys are looking for promenade, they'll get that thing going.
we sent the proposals out to everybody, pretty much. This season might be, this
But we do
this
have to
season.
check the guy that.
I agree, let's roll the dice on this, let's get something going this year on a permit, on a one-year trial basis.
So tell them to come.
And let's roll with it, come on, let's get into the food season.
So what's the recommendation?
3 spots.
What's the
I
okay, so 3
recommend-
spots?
Margie,
Sorry.
you're out of order over there with the
Where?
noises.
Along the West Promenade where those parking space spots are.
North of the subway, south of the subway?
North of the subway.
North of the subway. So designate 3 spots there.
Right.
Okay, that's a recommendation. In favor?
And the question came up about fee?
So let's go back to fees.
We charge,
You want to charge him or not charge him?
Charge.
we charge the fruit vendor.
Yeah. What's the equivalent charge of the food vendor?
Margie, I appreciate you brought your staff with you.
45 a month. Is it
What?
45 or 240, something like that.
And how much does the
Trying to
city
do
charge?
sucker.
Just so I care for comparison.
What? They charge 200 a year for their,
$200 a year.
And we charge 360 a month.
For 2 years.
for their.
Right,
Or nicer.
but
With seasonal.
you're comparing apples and oranges. And New York City has multiple revenue
No, it's
sources.
just curious, yeah.
Don't they have to pay the 200 also, just to even get into the
Yes.
city? So it's really costing them like 300, 200 for the year and then 360 a month for here.
Right, but we don't have the same revenue streams that New York City has, so they can
Yeah.
offer low rates or.
Well, that's fine, I was just curious what
Yeah,
they're.
but the question is, are we trying to entice them to come over here or not? If we're not, then this is fine, and if we are, then we can't
But-
they'll stay in Manhattan.
Look, there's 3 spots there.
It's roughly
So
10
it's
bucks a
limit-
day.
Yeah.
So the
$10.
demand is gonna be pent up if it really is something that's gonna work out for these guys. They have 3 spots,
Right.
first come, first
We'll
served.
stay.
First come, first served. All right, that's
All right, so
good.
3 spots at our
3
current
spots.
permit rate.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Dave, may I have
Not-
one
not-
thing?
Not $300 a month, excuse me, Rick, not $300 a month.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It wasn't
No,
$3,
they're
$10
not.
a
$40
day.
a day?
No.
That doesn't sound bad.
$3 a day? I'll take two spots.
$10.
I'll take 2.5 spots, I'll do those.
Why not just have a special parking fee for food trucks? And
Don't wanna hear any more of this off-table discussion. This is a RIOC committee meeting. All right? You all understand the status of what's going on here tonight? No more.
We have to, also, you brought up the noise. We have to think about the buildings right there. We haven't thought about the residents who live in
Do
those
we?
buildings. Did we?
You know,
I mean, thinking
I
about the
don't know.
noise, I'm only thinking about the
So
noise.
am I.
That's what
You
I'm
know,
saying,
you
conditions
live
of the
in New
permit,
York
they're
City, for
saying
God's
there's
sake.
litter
You're on
issues,
your own island,
they
that's
have
one
to clean
thing.
up
You
people
live
who
in
drop
New
their
York City,
stuff.
5 to
Oh.
6 or whatever, they're only gonna be there at rush hour anyway. Half the people aren't even gonna be home.
Are they gonna need extra garbage cans? And then also the
Only if
noise
they're-
issues.
Right, there are other things.
This is too much talking about too small a
Yeah,
matter.
it's gone, it's gone.
Okay,
Just
what about
consider
the
the permitting
promenade?
process.
Yes,
What
we
about
wanna go with the
promenade?
promenade.
Promenade.
But I think I'm just gonna go see if I can find the guy that was interested, for this season, because we have to do an RFP later, but I think since he expressed interest, it's only fair. I think the answer's gonna be no, it doesn't matter, and then these guys just get the permit for this season.
But
then
you
we
will
have to do
accept-
an RFP.
If we're doing
But if
free,
someone
then-
else wants to look at it, you'll,
That's what I'm saying, but for this season, but quickly.
yeah, okay.
But,
So we'll,
We have
we'll
to do
address
an
that in
RFP.
2 weeks, if you
Oh,
speak to the person
yeah,
in the interim,
a
we
week,
do it at the
just to
next
see if there's
meeting.
any interest, yeah.
Yeah.
But then we have to do the RFP.
Give us a plan at the next meeting, and we will, based on what you've heard here today, and we will nitpick it again, and we will come to decisions. Would be my thought.
And
Yeah,
come
And then
see us in the
but we'll be
interim so
into
we can work
April.
out details.
Huh?
So we'll be into April if we wait for the next meeting.
Not my
Next
problem.
week.
Vendor's problem.
Doesn't have to be a meeting next week.
April is, wait, what do you mean? April's 10 days from now.
Right, you said 2 weeks. So at the next meeting, 2 weeks, it will be into April
I'm not
before we
afraid
make
of
a
April.
decision. I think we can make a decision tonight, but again, I'm looking for direction from the committee. We resolved 3 parking spots for food vending, fine. We're gonna charge them the rate. Now, I asked about the promenade. Ms. Smith brought up,
All
she
I'm
wants.
saying is people who expressed interest before in it, and we said no, to then just give it away tonight because they don't happen to be here.
Okay.
We're not
We
giving it away
don't think it's
tonight.
right. But that's
No
what he
one's
wants
applied,
us to do.
no one's applied for a permit yet. We're
Who
just-
knows about it yet?
Nobody
No
knows
one
they
knew
were
it
in,
was
but
there.
it
No,
wasn't an
I'm
option.
you're saying we're giving it away, so no, we're just, right, all we said right now is that Fernando and the crew can begin saying, yes, they can go ahead and start doing
Yeah, but
this.
if they apply for a permit tomorrow, it'll be first come, first served, they'll get the permit, and the guys who had asked about it won't have any chance, they
Well,
were
that means,
told no.
that means we have to put a stipulation on the permit that if they don't use it, we find they're not making any money, but then we give them their money back and move the permit to the next person in line? Or what?
Those are two different things.
It involving us a lot of incredible nitpicking crap for what is essentially not a big deal.
We wanna take all the responsibility. That's pretty much what it comes down to. I mean, if we're gonna do something, it might be too late in the year now to get any kind of permit for liquor, tables and chairs and everything like that. That's why, I mean, if you wanna wait for someone else to get involved, fine.
I just don't think it's, I mean, if you guys had come in and done this to us, and we said, no, get lost,
Yeah,
and
we
then
said
next
this
week,
to you,
I know, but these guys said it
meetings
before
Yeah.
December, and we told them to get lost, they didn't come back.
Who's that?
They-
we did come
told them-
back.
No,
We
you
did
guys
come
did,
back.
but
Yeah.
they didn't come
We sent
back.
everybody email, we pretty much put it out there so you
Right.
have something, some sort of substance to what we wanna do. I think we clearly, what we did something well on the island, we brought a lot of people, we established, I have a vested interest, I don't wanna go now, I like this island. This island reminds me of my neighborhood, I'm not going anywhere. And I truly wanna put things here to be here for the long run. So like you said, is it fair to give it to the businesses on the island? Look what happened to your businesses on the island, they all
There,
failed.
is it legal? You have the Public Authorities Act.
That's what's
It's
down, he just said he
So,
could, it's perfect.
so how are we going to
All right, I give up,
publicly?
how do you guys feel about it?
Well, I think you should. It won't be that long. I think you should go ahead and approach, but it will cause another problem though.
It will cause another
It will
problem.
be another problem because,
It may not be,
but
they
then
may
on
not
the
be
other
interested
hand-
anymore.
Yeah.
right, you can ask and hopefully
And that's
it's too
probably the
short
case.
of it'll probably be too short notice.
It's
most
actually,
people.
you know, it's $345 a month, it's way below the $15,000 a year that has to go out for an RFP. So, you know, and it's not beyond a year, so, I mean,
Right.
that,
Well,
so
I think it's a
for
problem.
the legal aspect of it, it's just a permit fee that we give out to everybody, you know, that wants a permit, like a food truck or whatever. So
I know what
it's
you're
just
saying,
another
it's fair to give it to
tool.
someone, see if somebody else would like.
Right, it's a
and-
fair
and the rest of the
enough.
interested.
Right.
Of course.
We have one person we can ask right now.
Okay.
Rick?
Yeah, I have people who are interested.
for this,
You know about this meeting quite a few times, and why didn't you ever bring it?
It's not a subject for this discussion here.
well, okay, so.
All right, that's it.
So-
I want to hear nobody but committee members and board members for the next 5 minutes.
We need, every time we do something new, we have no points of reference. We need a point of reference. So anytime a new program, regardless of where it is, whether it's IT, whether it's spreadsheets, whether it's the food, you need a point of reference. This should be a point where we do an evaluation. You have somebody, we have somebody on the island that's interested in doing something that gives us a point of reference. We had, and we call it a pilot program, 3 spots are there. We're completely covered legally, because we're calling this our pilot food vendor program. Bring the 3 trucks in. I would give